Hello, my name is Susan Beatty. I have a master's in diagnosis and intervention of reading difficulties, and so I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I've learned and found very, very helpful for students that might be struggling over one, two, or many reading a word that's has more than one syllables or spelling larger words. So if your student is at that stage, remember, reading happens in stages, not ages. So if they're in the stage where you're finding that you're correcting or reminding them that they have said an incorrect word when they're reading, or if their spelling doesn't match what they say, perhaps I'm hoping that this PowerPoint might be helpful for you. So first of all good readers need a strategy. So what's a strategy? Well, a strategy is a plan. Fluent reading is effective, and one can easily attack unknown words. Just like the soldiers you see on the slide, they must have a plan for their attack, or it won't be very successful. And I find sometimes students always don't have a plan for when something gets tricky. Even efficient and effective readers sometimes, when they get tripped, they don't know how to attack it. So this is for them. Fluent reading is also efficient. Well, what's efficient? What are we talking about there? Well, it means it takes little time to do this process because, as you well know, meaning can all of a sudden get interrupted and drop if it takes too long to figure out an unknown word or too long to spell it. Then you lose what you're writing about. So using syllables to read and spell is both effective and efficient. Hearing syllables. A syllable is, according to the dictionary, a unit of pronunciation having one vowel sound. There are very, very few words, but there are a few words in which there is no actual vowel there. It's just a sound, like in the word rhythm. You can look that up later. The in rhythm, there is no U there. It sounds like it should be, but there isn't. But the vast, vast majority of them, 98, 99% of them, all have one vowel, having a vowel sound. Excuse me, not one vowel, but a vowel sound, one vowel sound at least. So preschool children can normally hear syllables as the number of beats in a word. Ask any little one to clap the word fun. Fun. They will feel that one beat because there's just that one beat in that sound and that one syllable. Then ask them to clap funny. Funny. They will be able to feel at a very young age that there's two parts to that word. And I'm sure that that oral language came before written language. And so it makes sense that those parts then, as they began to spell them, those parts were broken up and spelled part by part. Hence, we have syllables. So remind readers, all readers, no matter whether they're, I've worked with people that struggled reading as adults with spelling and reading both, and I've also worked with preschoolers, but just remind readers, if they're reading, at whatever age they are, that they had a very early awareness that will help them. Recognizing syllables is an absolute key to making reading and spelling easy. There's an old African saying that you probably heard, "How do you eat an elephant?" And the answer, of course, one bite at a time. And that's the way it is with larger words. Let's just take them one syllable at a time, making it quite easy. Instead of that great big huge word, now we just have smaller parts. So initially, thinking of a word divided into syllables makes any word so much easier to bite into. Now notice that I've said initially because we don't want to stay at that syllable level and be reading words in a choppy manner. This is just when we have to slow it down, put it into fourth gear. I love being in the mountains, and sometimes my husband has to put our vehicle, even though he can put it in a gear that lets us zip down the highway. Sometimes when we get up in the mountains and we're headed toward a little mountain creek or lake, he has to put it in fourth gear, and we have to slow it down. So it isn't a bad thing to slow things down. You just know that you don't keep at that pace the whole time. So how can syllables help speed this up? Well, in English, it matters what letters follow the vowel in a syllable. Okay, remember? Follow the vowel. A lot of grown-ups or adult readers or proficient readers really don't think about this because they don't slow it down this much all the time. But you always must look at what comes after the vowel because that's going to guide you to what the vowel is probably going to say. Now, unfortunately, it's not 100% because it matters the word origin and sometimes how often, how common the word is. And sometimes we have changed that vowel sound a little bit. But it will help a lot. So students need to first spot vowels in each syllables quickly and then note the pattern. So if you're helping someone, you can write the vowels in red or just some fun color and then the consonants in black or another color so that you're very definite about having them zone in on the vowel and the letter that follows, okay? So let's look at the first word that we have at the bottom of the screen. Follow. And really I should have put that second L I see in black because it's a consonant, not a syllable. But it blocks that vowel from being able to say his name. Consonants are kind of the strong guys of the alphabet, and they can bully or stop vowels from saying their full name. And so the full name of O is O, or his long sound, as teachers sometimes call it. So that doesn't say fo-lo, it says the ah, or the short sound. Fa-lo. Now look at the second syllable. Ah, we have an O-W pattern there, and that is what we call a vowel team. O-W can say O, like in, snow and glow and some other words like that. Now, look at the next word, vowels. Only one syllable there, vowels. Even though you see two vowels, they are only making one vowel sound because that's an O-W, and then an E is kind of what we call really a no-job E, although so that he's not reaching over. There's that vowel team, and that's going to be the one that says his sound. So it's vowels. Okay, O-W says ow, like someone's pinching you. So again, that deviates from a normal vowel sound, and you will see this at the end. You'll see the 7 syllable types. So I'm just giving you kind of a smattering right now of one of those types. Okay, next word, note. Note, only one syllable. I see 2 vowels. It's an O blank or O consonant E. I say blank sometimes to the students, and they know that that means consonant. O or vowel team or vowel consonant E. The E has the power to reach over that T, one consonant, and make the vowel say his name. Pattern. Let's look at pattern now. Pattern. There's 2 parts. Always help your students stop and think about the first one first. Pat. What kind of a vowel or syllable do we see? I see one vowel. What's it followed by? A T. So it's a closed syllable because it's closed in there. Do you see where the consonant stops the A from? It isn't a pattern, it's a pattern. Okay, and then the second syllable, anytime we have, and you remember this from grade school, I'm sure, anytime you have 2 consonants, you divide there. So, and then turn. And there we have an R directed syllable in the R directed vowel, I'm sorry. In the ER, it's going to say er. A lot of times that R is going to have that predominant grumpy sound, as I call it with students. Well, if you look at the majority of mistakes, and I really encourage you to have your students writing very, very early, from the beginning of when they would be interested in doing it or like it, have kids write a lot. So if you study your child's spelling errors, the majority of those errors will most likely be in the vowels. If you note those errors in reading, often the child is stumped by the vowel sound or gives an incorrect guess, which, as we all know, sends them way off in meaning. Then they're really lost. Understanding syllables will aid greatly in generating correct vowel sound spellings. So, how do I know? That's kind of complicated. And it does to adults that are not used to, remember, you're not used to working because you've gotten beyond that. You're now at an automaticity stage, just like if I were to ask you to explain to me exactly on the H what gear is where. You might have a little difficulty, and you might have to put your hand down and kind of think, well, what is it? Because you don't have to think about it. It's already at that automatic stage in your brain in which it does not take cognitive draw. In other words, you don't have to really think about it because you've taken it beyond that. So therefore, now you can drive on the freeway and be looking at whether the semi is coming or whether a car is passing you or whatever's happening. So you have extra cognitive energy to be able to do that. It's not wise to try to merge on a freeway if you're still learning how to shift. So let's help you and your child learn those 7-syllable types. There is closed. Remember, that's where, we're going to go over these in a minute, a little slower. Closed is where the vowel is closed off by a consonant. It could be open, where the end of the syllable or the word ends with a vowel. The word me ends with a vowel, so the E can say E. The word pen ends with a consonant, and so that E is not going to say E, it's going to say eh. So it goes from long to short, short to long, depending on whether it's closed or not. Then there's magic E. That's the E that can reach over one consonant and make whatever vowel is on the other side, make him say his name. There's vowel teams, and these vowel teams most often say the first vowel's name, but not always. Let's move on. Digraphs. A digraph is a name that teachers use and linguists use. Kids don't use it real often, and neither do adults. I can't stop too many adults on the street and say, so what is a digraph? They often don't know. But a digraph is just 2 vowels that make a sound that is uncommon to either one of them, and you can kind of hear them both. O-I, very common digraph. It goes oi, oi. It's only 1 syllable, but you can hear those, and we blend those together. We don't say oil, we go oil. We kind of put them together. It's called co-articulation. When you blend things together so quickly, your brain can do that. You don't even realize you're making it with 2 separate sounds. Then there's R controlled. That's that grumpy R that can do things like make AR say R, ER say and so on. And then the final one, consonant LE, and that's going to be at the end of the syllable or word. Okay, closed syllables. Look at these. Can you see how they're all closed? What's closing them? Consonants. It's not mean, it's men because it's closed. Not bite but bit because the I has been closed off by the T. Nap, same. Not, same. And now we have a 2-syllable word, written. So in that word, we happen to have 2 closed syllables. It's not right because we have a T right behind that ends the syllable. The I has to say a short sound. The same with in. Thanks. Let's go to the next one. Open syllables. These guys, remember, do not have any consonants blocking them off so they can say their own name. E says E, O says O. Y can say I at the end of short syllables. It says E at the end of long ones, or at the end of multisyllables. So it's try, but it would be happy. So 1 syllable, there's a syllable type right there. So reopen, redo, rewrite. And here that syllable is open. There's no consonant to shut that vowel down. Now we have magic E. Magic E is the one, and again, you can have, your teachers might be using different names for this, but some kids know it as a blank E pattern. That's fine too. The blank is always going to be a consonant, or some books, some reading series call it a magic E, and just the one that I happen to give you at the end of this calls it a magic E. That's why I just stayed with this. So I've put the little wand there that E's magic, and he doesn't say anything. He's quiet. That's why I haven't made him red here. He's quiet. He just can reach over and bop that A right on his head and say your name. So it's made, not mad. tide, not tid, tube, not tub, and ripe, not rip. Now we have vowel teams, and you notice up in the corner, I don't know if you can read it very well, but I put stuck in the middle because these guys are always in the middle. They're always stuck in the middle of words. So, normally, I see I've given you one right off the bat that is at the end, but anyway, they're normally in the middle of a longer word. So, we have double E, EA, AI, and these are just a few. You can find the rest of them, but they're very common, and you know. But those two vowels that go together, and they're the E says E in see and feet, EA says E in eat and mean, and AI says A in paid and nail. Now for those R-controlled. See that big old bully? He's the R. And the little guy, the little blonde-headed guy, he's the vowel. Notice where he is, and that the R follows him. He's after him. If you're looking the way we do in reading, that we remember we read from left to right. Okay, let's look at the word turn. What kind of a syllable would your child or would you call that? It's an R-controlled syllable, so you know that you're going to have an sound in the middle, turn. There's another one at the bottom, AR. You know you're going to have an R-controlled. AR says R, barn. IR says third. This just gives your child some way of organizing. Otherwise, in English, if you don't have any way to organize your thoughts, it's very hard to keep track of what's going on. So this is just one way. It's not the only way, but it's one way to organize how letters go together and what vowel sounds are going to be. Okay, if you look at the picture carefully, we have a green apple on the outside, and what do we have on the inside? An orange. Remember I told you that diphthongs are two vowels that produce different sounds than you would ordinarily expect. So you look at an O and an I, you might be looking like at the green apple and expect something that looks like an apple on the inside, but it doesn't say the O or the I, it says oi. OU says ow, like in loud or ken. If we're looking at a double O, the most common sound is that one, and I always kind of tease kids and say, kind of pretend like you're hitting yourself in the tummy, and you would go, ugh. And so that's that look, book, took. But you can also hear an O make the sound of ooh, like in boo, that you might be hearing around Halloween time, or goo, the sound of goo. So anyway, that's another sound that it can make. Okay, consonant LE. Ooh, look at that. Rattler. I used to live in Arizona, and we used to have to watch out for rattlers a lot. And they have that O at the end of rattle. TLE, tull. DLE, dull. TLE, ol. But we just hear that ol at the end, and it's LE. Rattle, middle, kettle. Okay, next. One word can have different sounds types for syllables. Spider. Let's look at that. What do you think? Just kind of turn to your neighbor or your child or to yourself. What do you think spy is? Open or closed? It's open because the vowel can say I. It says his name. What do you think der is? Open or closed? Neither one. Good for you. You caught. It's an R-controlled syllable. It's ER. Good for you. Now look at our little girl. She's saying activities. Okay, what about ac? Open, closed, or a different one? Closed, isn't it? Because that C closes off the A. Tiv. What do you think? Good for you. Closed. Now this should be open because that I is all by himself. So as a reader, if you read activities, guess what? It's not going to make sense to you. So I always tell boys and girls, say it the way it would make sense to you. It's activities. Yeah. So have that to help them. However, it's very helpful in when you're going to spell it. I always say it the way it looks when I'm going to spell it. So I will say activities to myself so that I know that there's that I there. And then look at the last one. Ah, what do you have? You have a vowel team. You have I, E. Now let's look at a great big word. Whew. Syllabification. Good job. All right. SYL. What do you have? Closed. And so that Y has a short sound, doesn't it? Lab. Yep. The A is a short sound because it's closed. And here again is if it said I all by itself, wouldn't make sense. It says the I sounds. And then what if we had fication? Would it make sense? No. Well, again, we turn that into a schwa. A schwa is just a sound where it just is going, like it doesn't know what it's supposed to say. And that is because it's on an unaccented syllable, but don't worry about that. Just worry about what would make sense for you. How about the next one? K, C-A. It's open so that A is supposed to say A, and indeed it does. And then you're going to say C, shun. Okay, that is a vowel team in which T, I, O, and then you go ahead and add that consonant of the N. Okay. So, if you would like this 7-syllable types chart, I found it on the clip art that you can either find in Word or you can also find it on PowerPoint. But if you don't happen to have a PowerPoint on your computer, just go in like you're going to type a letter or something and go up to Insert. You can, you have a little tab up there where you can choose Insert and then choose Clip Art and then go to Clip Art and type in the word syllable. And if you do that, this is one of your choices, and you can make it as a full page for you and your child to go over. And I just found it very helpful. Okay. All righty. I thank you so much for your time. And I don't know about where you are right now, but it's snowing where we are right now. And we're just beginning February, and we're kind of tired of it. We've had it for quite a while. So when we look at a picture like this, can you say beautiful? Thank you very, very much for your attention, and I hope that this helps. Thank you.